Welcome to Module 4 of Marketing 111. This is a fun module. We're finally beyond our ideation and brainstorming sessions, so let's dive in. Module 4, we get to take a look at our overview, and in this you're going to see that we get to dive deep into what channels are we going to market through and distribute through. So we're going to explore not only supply chains, but also what distribution channels are we going to sell through. There's a little bit of an overlap between those two concepts, and so we're going to try to make the distinction between distribution channels and also marketing channels. So let's take a look at what those two differentiations actually are. We have a really fun assignment in this particular module, and so in this module, if we scroll down and we take a look at our brand differentiation and positioning assignment, we get to explore a short video of the Consumer Electronics Show that is in Vegas every January. And I love exploring this show. It's one that if you ever get a chance to go visit, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You generally have to be an employee of a corporation or a member of the media to go visit. So while it says Consumer Electronics Show, usually they don't just allow anybody in from the public, but you can always find awesome videos all over YouTube. And so there's a sample video here in our assignment, and it's a very short video, so it doesn't take very long. So when we do this assignment, what we are going to do is that we're going to watch a short video of the CES show, or you can go Google it yourself and find a couple YouTube videos. Our goal for this written assignment is to find a product at the Consumer Electronics Show that you think was really innovative and exciting, something that motivated you. But then, as you observe how that was introduced at the Consumer Electronics Show, you're going to notice, and then you're going to observe that companies often will launch products at a big trade show or event. So for our written assignment, part A says find an industry event relevant to your particular product or service industry. So just like there's a Consumer Electronics Show that occurs in Vegas every single year, every industry has big trade shows all over the country, and they have small regional ones and local ones all over the country. So just go to Google and take the industry or product that you are writing your marketing plan about, and then explore and try to find an industry event that is relevant to your particular industry, your particular product that you are writing your marketing about. So then you can take a look at that trade show, go visit that trade show's website, explore what vendors have, what options vendors have to market and promote their products at that show. You'll see lots of little videos. You may even be able to go to YouTube and see what other people are talking and saying about that particular trade show. And then I want you to do a little bit of an exploration about how companies are using that particular event to introduce new product features or new products to the industry, and how they can use events like that to gather customer feedback and research at those events. When you get that kind of a foundation, you're starting to do a little bit of customer validation. You're starting to understand what industry trends are, and by doing this, you are starting to become a marketing professional. You are going through that phase of transitioning from a consumer to starting to think about the industry from the perspective of a business, and how a business can actually launch products and communicate with consumers, and how a business can gather customer research and customer feedback from these types of events. So part C says, let's analyze what market trends were you able to perceive from the research that you did about that particular trade show. Then part D, you get to describe how the industry is using these events to connect with customers, investors, distributors. And so just like the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas is in theory open to the public. You have to get a ticket. You have to be associated with distributors or the media, so it's not really open to customers. You get to describe how the event you chose is open to customers, or how it's open to vendors, or how it's open to the customer segment that industry event is targeted to. And you get to describe how that industry is engaging with their community. Then part E is setting the stage for how this assignment is actually going to connect to our marketing plan. In our marketing plan, you're going to be asked to describe what is your brand promise, what is your brand voice, what is your brand personality, and how is it positioning itself within the industry, and is this the best strategy? You're also going to be asked if you needed to pivot that. So please identify your favorite product that was described at the event and describe how you feel that the brand was represented, and do you think that the target customer was well represented at that event, or do you think that they lacked the connectivity with their customer? So this is just a fun little assignment. You just get to go bam, 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 and explore how your industry is connecting with customers at trade shows and events like the Consumer Electronics Show. Our assignment for the second part of this module is to complete Marketing Plan 2. And Marketing Plan 2 is the second part in that big Word document. So Marketing Plan template has Marketing Plan 1, Marketing Plan 2, Marketing Plan 3, and Marketing Plan 4 all in one document. So for those of you that have already submitted your Marketing Plan 1 assignment, which was due already, you're now going to take that exact same document that was hopefully submitted using the Marketing Plan 1 or the Marketing Plan template, and you're going to just build upon that document, and you're going to complete all the sections in section 2 of the document. So that document for Marketing Plan 2 is going to contain all of the information that you submitted for Marketing Plan 1, and now it's going to contain all of Marketing Plan 1 and all of Marketing Plan 2 in it. So you're going to answer all of the questions for section 2, and it's going to build on everything that you already answered in Marketing Plan 1. So for example, I'm going to grade Marketing Plan 2, and I'm going to look at the answers that you have written for the sections in Marketing Plan 2, and I'm going to refer back to the last 2 bullet points under market segmentation and targeting that you wrote in Marketing Plan 1, and I'm going to look at your answers in Marketing Plan 2, and I'm going to say, are they in alignment with the customer market segment that you identified in Marketing Plan 1? Are you answering these questions in alignment with the customer segment that you identified in Marketing Plan 1? So these plans, the Marketing Plan 1, Marketing Plan 2, just keep building upon each other. And if you decide that you need to pivot or you need to change, you can always go back to prior marketing plan segments and update, tweak, refine, improve any of those early sections, because that's what we do in the real world. We're going to revise and change our plans as we gather new information. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to first play with exploring how your industry connects and targets customers in their industry trade show, and that's just one way that we can connect with our customers to get research. Then you're going to build upon that and use that information in your marketing plan too. So let's have fun as we go through this particular module. As always, you always have a matching game activity. You've got your perusal discussion questions, and you've got a perusal video that you get to go through. So let's have a little bit of fun. Now let's dive into our PowerPoints and take a look at what our content is going to tell us about. So let's dive in. This is actually Module 4, talking about distribution. It's also talking about new product development, and let's have just a little bit of fun. Now, in our marketing channels, different businesses sell either direct to consumer or they may sell direct to business. So as we look at the right side of the screen, we see direct channels that sell manufactured direct to the consumer, or we see indirect where a manufacturer is selling directly to a wholesaler, then to a retailer, then to a consumer. And these come about by two different choices. One is a business may strategically choose and say, you know what, I want to sell direct to the consumer, or I want to strategically choose to sell to a wholesaler and let the wholesaler deal with retailers and the retailers deal with consumers. Because if I sell directly to the consumer, I have to build up the entire infrastructure of a sales and marketing team, a customer support team, a packing and shipping team, a warranty team. And so are those whole bunches of departments and staff that we have to build up if we're going to go direct to consumer? So some companies may just decide, you know what, it's not worth it to me to build up a direct to consumer channel. Instead, I'm going to use an indirect channel, and I'm going to sell to wholesalers and let wholesalers bulk that out, break the bulk, and sell to retailers and let retailers do the distribution out to consumers. So there's not a direct, correct or incorrect answer. This is part of strategy. But sometimes our product may also influence the choices that we make. So let's think about some really low-cost items. There may be some low-cost items like a fingernail clipper or a fingernail file that has such a low price to it that can I afford, as a manufacturer of fingernail clippers or fingernail files, can I afford to directly sell those to consumers? So can I put a website up and pack and ship a fingernail clipper directly to the consumer? Probably not. It's probably not going to be cost effective for me to pack and ship a very small item like that. So sometimes our products may affect our choices of distribution channels because it just may not be economically feasible or economically viable. Now, sometimes people think, is this different for business to business versus business to consumer? Well, the roles may slightly change. And so whether we're talking about a warehouse or whether we're talking about an agent or a broker, the middleman that's sitting in the middle might be a little bit different, but it doesn't really change. It doesn't change that economic decision about whether we can afford to make that direct to consumer sale. In fact, we might just change this game just a little bit, because if we are the manufacturer of grain, in other words, let's think about a farmer that is growing corn and we're selling it to a big manufacturer like General Mills who makes Cheerios. Do you think that General Mills is going to actually have a contract with every single little farmer? They're probably not. And so are we going to have an agent or a broker like a co-op actually act as the middle? Because the farmers are going to take their wagons of corn that the big combines dump that corn into, and they're going to take it to the co-op. The co-op is going to load them into freight cars. The freight cars are going to load them and take them to even bigger distribution centers. And they're going to combine all the little itty bitty manufacturers, all the little itty bitty producers, in other words, farmers, and they're going to combine them into big bulk purchases, because the big companies like General Mills, they probably don't want to deal individually with farmers, and so an agent or a broker might actually combine all of those small little producers into one big sale. So it works both ways. Not only does it take small producers and allow them to sell in bulk to a big buyer, and it also allows little things like fingernail files to be cost effectively distributed to consumers. So let's think about how channels help us move materials cost effectively to the buyer or the consumer, whether it's a manufacturer that wants to cost effectively move fingernail clippers to the consumer, or whether it's a farmer that wants to move their crop to a big buyer like General Mills that's going to produce our Cheerios. So we need to understand the economics of our distribution systems because it impacts how we may choose to sell, whether we're a producer to an industrial user or whether we're a big producer that's going to sell fingernail clippers to an individual. So sometimes the economics of our situation impact the channels that we're going to use. Now, most of the time, we tend to think about horizontal distribution systems, which on this slide we think of as conventional marketing systems. We're going to talk about horizontal in just a moment here. But conventional marketing systems move goods horizontally from one point to the next. We move them from the producer to the wholesaler to the retailer to the consumer, and that's the traditional marketing channel. But sometimes businesses decide that, you know what, we're going to try to integrate some of these processes. So somewhere along the line, Costco decided decades and decades ago that they were going to sell the $1.50 hot dog and soda. But at one point in time, it became more expensive for Costco to produce or buy that $1.50 hot dog than that $1.50 price was. And so when it got to be $1.52, $1.56, $1.62, they didn't want to lose money in that production process or in the purchasing of those materials. And so they started to vertically integrate the processes. And so Costco went out and they bought the manufacturer that actually was manufacturing the hot dogs. And then they bought the farmers, and then they bought the butchers. And so they vertically integrated all of the production of the hot dogs in order to squeeze all of the costs out of the production of the hot dog. So they've been offering a $1.50 hot dog and soda for decades and decades and decades. And while prices have continued to go up, Costco has figured out how to vertically integrate these systems to keep squeezing the costs out of the system. And so there's vertical integration and there's also horizontal. So when we think about marketing, we typically think about unrelated companies horizontally marketing through a system, but sometimes we buy those companies out and we merge them together and it creates a vertical marketing system, and we merge them all together into one big corporate channel like Costco has done with their hot dogs, just to be able to keep offering that $1.50 hot dog. Now, I love multi-channel marketers because you're going to hear me consistently nag you and say, I want you to be able to sell where our customers actually are. And if one demographic, if one customer market segment wants to buy online and another customer market segment wants to still buy in bricks and mortar, are we going to have a multi-channel marketing system? Yes, we're going to have one customer segment that still wants to buy online and one customer segment that still wants to buy in bricks and mortar, and we're going to market to our customers where they are at. And that's why I love this new word called omni-channel marketing. And in the future, omni-channel is just going to disappear and we're going to just call this marketing. But omni-channel is where we give our consumers a variety of ways to purchase, receive, return products, deliver them, pick them up. We get to give the customer the products in the place, in the location, in the buying experience that the customer wants it. In other words, if they want to buy online, they've got it. If they want to have it delivered to the home, they've got it. If they want to shop in a bricks and mortar store, they've got it. We're going to deliver the buying experience to the customer any way the customer wants it, any way that the customer desires to experience it. And that's what an awful lot of companies have tried to now get to. They want to offer both the bricks and mortar and online experience. And that's the type of experience that I believe that we need to get to. Now, when we think about this, we also need to understand what are the buyer's expectations, what are the buyer's wants, and what are the buyer's needs. So if I've got a really cheap product, there is nothing wrong with me selling a really cheap product through Dollar General or Dollar General and Walmart. Our textbook describes that in the context of intensive distribution, where we're going to sell our cheap products through as many different distribution channels as is possible. So if I want to sell a Hershey's candy bar, I'm going to sell that absolutely everywhere. You can find it in Dollar General, you can find it in Walmart, you can find it in a grocery store, you can find Hershey candy bars all over the place. And so when we think about our target market coverage, how extensive do we want that distribution to be? And so it can be incredibly intensive, where we distribute that product as far and as wide as we can possibly get it. But if we think about a Tiffany's blue box, or some people correctly describe it as teal, I still want to call it blue, but a better word for the Tiffany's box might be teal. That's a luxury jewelry item, and we don't want to distribute a luxury jewelry item just anywhere. We only want that to be in the Tiffany's store or in the Tiffany's online website. We want that to be a very exclusive experience. And so can we have exclusive distribution where we limit it to very specific locations like the bricks and mortar exclusively Tiffany's store? So when we think about our target market coverage, what is the experience that we want our customers to have? So it might not meet the needs of every customer, but what is the experience that we want them to have? We want them to have that exclusivity of the Tiffany's experience. And so we purposefully set up our distribution to also align with the experience that we want our customers to have and the experience that our customers expect to have. We do that because we are fulfilling our buyers' expectations. We're fulfilling our buyers' requirements because we're matching the needs, wants, desires, and expectations of the consumers. And that Tiffany's experience is what consumers want when they're paying that premium price for that premium name of a Tiffany's teal box for the jewelry. That is how we fulfill our buyer's experience, and that's pretty important for us to understand. Now, maybe we're just going to pick up the bread and the milk at a convenience store on our way home because it's convenient and we're perfectly happy to pay for a premium price at convenience. And so premium prices are not just reserved to Tiffany's jewelry. Sometimes we pay premium prices for bread, milk, because it's easier for us to just quickly stop at that convenience store rather than driving an extra mile, 2, 3, 4 miles down the road to the grocery store. And so when we think about what that customer experience is, what the customer's desire, what the customer's expectations are, sometimes we're willing to pay for convenience. But similarly, do we have customers that want to go to the grocery store because they've got more variety? Absolutely, sometimes more variety. But we can also differentiate ourselves from our competition on the basis of what kind of pre-sale service do we offer and what kind of post-sale service do we offer. And so are there some customers that want a lot of pre-sale service? They really want a lot of attention to help them make that decision, to help them make sure that this is the product that's going to meet their wants, needs, and desires. And then we have some customers that want a lot of post-sale service that really teaches them how to use the product and make that product an integral part of their life. Well, when we think about technology, there's an awful lot of customers that fit into those categories. And so can I charge a premium price by differentiating myself from the competition by offering this great pre-sale service or this great post-sale service? There's all kinds of opportunities that impact how I choose to distribute my product and where I'm going to choose to distribute my product. So Best Buy offers the Geek Squad. And so does the Geek Squad offer great post-sale service as they will deliver and install your technology in your home and teach you how to use it and set it all up? But are there other people that are perfectly comfortable spending a little bit less money and buying the technology and installing and setting it all up themselves? We have different customers that have different wants, needs, and desires, and we can differentiate ourselves based upon understanding what the customer's wants, needs, and desires are. Now, as we think about distribution, we can go back to that vertical integration and that horizontal integration. And if we make the choice to distribute to a warehouse, sometimes the warehouse is providing an incredible value offer for us, because they're taking a big pallet of items and they're breaking it down into smaller boxes, smaller size quantities. So if you walk into a Dollar General store, if you walk into a convenience store, you'll often see one of these gray plastic totes on one of these carts where they've received a shipment of merchandise. Well, they didn't receive a pallet of fingernail clippers. They didn't receive a pallet of fingernail files. They received from a warehouse a gray tote that has 20, 30, 40, 50 products in them ready to go on the shelves, on those little hooks on the shelves. And in there might be 3 fingernail files and 5 fingernail clippers, because at the warehouse, they took that pallet of fingernail files and they took that pallet of fingernail clippers and they opened up the boxes and they took that box of 120 fingernail clippers and that box of 240 fingernail files, and they just pulled out the 3 that are going to this particular store and the 5 that are going to this particular store, and they packed them separately. So when we think about distribution provides a lot of services for us. They take care of unit value, they take care of bulk and weight, they take care of perishability, they take care of a lot of different product things for us. They also get products to customers very quickly, very fast. And so do grocery stores get perishable vegetables to us in a very quick manner? Isn't that pretty exciting and cool that we can get really high quality food to us, shipped all the way across the country, sometimes halfway across the world, and it's still fresh and has shelf life before it is perishing? And we have other stores. If you think about that example of the Geek Squad, do we have some people that don't want to try to figure out how am I going to get that 120-inch television or that 85-inch television home, because I don't have a big honking truck, and maybe I don't want to handle that big, awkward, bulky television box? And so will Best Buy actually take that big television set, bring it there, unpack it, and set it up and install it? So we've got lots of product related factors that go into how we distribute, how we set up, and how we take care of the wants, needs, and expectations of customers, and how do we best satisfy them based upon all of these product related factors. So you probably didn't think that going into marketing that you were going to be involved with distribution. You didn't think that you were going to be involved with packing or shipping. But this is one of the key factors of marketing. We need to make sure that our customers are satisfied, our customers are happy. We are getting the right product to the right customer at the right time, using the distribution channels that the customer wants to be able to connect with us in. And so that is all part of marketing. Marketing has to connect the customers with the distribution channels, and the marketing has to make the decisions of which distribution channels do customers want to utilize, and they have to understand the wants, needs, and desires, and they've got to evaluate channel members, they've got to evaluate channels, they've got to evaluate the reputation that these channels are going to have, and evaluate whether these channels are going to be profitable. They've got to manage these channels to make sure that our inventory is going to flow through them fast, efficiently, so that there is no inventory bottlenecks. They've got to make sure that inventory is moving through in a very quick and efficient manner, just to take care of the wants, needs, and desires of our customers. And we're going to track all of these different distribution channels with a lot of different key performance metrics or key performance indicators. We're going to look at order accuracy rate. We're going to see, are our orders accurate? What is the inventory turnover rate? How much time does it take to ship? How many units are we holding in storage? Because inventory being held in storage is not an efficient use of capital. And so we've got to turn that inventory over fast. How many total number of orders does each different channel have? And what is the percentage of on-time shipments? Can we afford any customers to be unhappy? So that percentage of on-time shipments has to be really, really high. What's the statistic? How many happy customers are going to tell the world that they love us? But how many unhappy customers are going to tell everyone that they're upset? So can we afford to not track data? We have to track all of this information to make sure that our customers are happy, because this is all about marketing. This is all about customer satisfaction. So we're going to track all of these metrics, and we're going to build them all into our marketing processes and procedures, and we're going to make sure that we are delivering it efficiently. So you might not have thought that your role in marketing was going to include communications with purchasing, communications with operations, communications with logistics, and communications with what our textbook calls resource management. But if you look at those words under resource management, planning, organizing, and controlling, that's all of management. That's all of the different management operations within the business. Marketing is going to communicate with everyone, and we're going to manage the information workflow, not only inside of the business, but all of the information that's flowing in our supply chain. That includes all of our vendors, all of our suppliers, all of our shipping partners, all of our warehouse agents, everybody that is involved in getting raw materials to production so that we can make sure that we can actually manufacture what we're selling, and all of the distribution that actually gets the product to the customer. We're going to manage all of that information, and we're going to make sure that everyone is on board and everyone has everything that they need. So those logistics functions include warehousing, inventory management, logistics information, integrated logistics, and all of our third-party providers. Let's think about a big ad campaign. And so one of my favorite products is this bag of bird feed from Tractor Supply. So Tractor Supply might go through, say, 1 pallet of bird feed every single month. But what if the bird seed supplier runs a promotion like a BOGO promotion, a buy one, get one free promotion? If they normally go through 1 pallet of bird seed, but they have a BOGO promotion, are they now going to go through 2 pallets? Or is that going to incentivize a whole bunch of people to buy such that maybe they're going to go through 3 pallets? Well, our marketing team needs to communicate with not only our shipping, but also our manufacturing and warehousing and all these third-party providers to make sure that there are 3 pallets of bird feed in the stores at Tractor Supply when this buy one, get one offer goes live, so that when customers come in, they've got all the product to actually satisfy this ad campaign. Because do we ever want an ad campaign that when we launch, we run out of product? We never want that. So we always want to make sure that we have communicated all of the information through all of our partners and through all of this chain, because we've got to make sure that those pallets have been pre-positioned. We've got 3 pallets in the store, and we have pallets in the warehouse, and we have pallets on the trucks, and we have pallets that previously got manufactured by manufacturing, and that we got the supplies in from our suppliers to manufacturing so that manufacturing could actually manufacture and produce. So did we communicate all of that with all of our partners? We can never run an ad campaign without making sure that we've communicated with everyone to make sure that all of the product exists. And while that sounds like that's a big company problem, this is just as relevant for small companies. Let's think about a small restaurant. Can we run a lunch special, whether it's an appetizer or a dessert, and run a promotion for this particular week, and then on the first day of the promotion go, oops, we ran out? Well, that just trashed our entire ad campaign. We can't tell customers, I'm sorry, but we ran out of that advertiser 1 hour into the lunch hour on Monday when we were supposed to be running that promotion all week long. That's just not acceptable. Didn't we need to communicate that with whoever was buying food, whoever was buying all the materials and supplies? Because it's not cool if we advertise to our customers that this particular food item was going to be on special and promotion all week long, only to have them come in specifically for that and then tell them an hour into the very first day that we ran out. So marketing is more than just sales and advertising. Marketing is very sophisticated, and it involves all aspects of business. If you talk to corporate America, you'll find that the very fastest way to be in the corporate CEO office is either through finance or through marketing, because if you come up through marketing, you're going to know every aspect of the business. If you come up through finance, you're going to know the numbers of every aspect of business. So let's think about new products. We build what customers want. We satisfy customers' wants, needs, and desires. And so new products aren't what the company wants. New products are what the customers want. And so there's a variety of different categories of new products. We have new products that are brand new to the world, that have never been manufactured before. So if we think back a number of decades ago, Steve Jobs walked out onto stage and said, "This is the iPhone. Nothing like this has ever been created before. We've never seen a smartphone before. It not only makes telephone calls, but it also plays music." And the world just went, "Say what? We don't know what this is." Because we had previously had an MP3 player, music player on one hip, and then we had a phone in another pocket or on a different hip. And we had two different devices. And Apple just smashed the two devices together and said, guess what? We just created the iPhone. And they created a brand new product, brand new to the world. Well, another category of new products is a product that is new to the firm, but maybe not new to the world. And so can we create a new product that has already been in the market? Absolutely. So there's nothing wrong with us creating a new product that's new to our firm, because if we're already selling one product to customers, is there an add-on product, or is there an upgrade to that product? Is there a more sophisticated, higher quality version of that product? Can we always create a new product for our firm? Absolutely. The next category is adding to existing product lines. And so if we've got an existing product, is there a new luxury version of that particular product? If you think about automobile manufacturers, do they always have a low-end model, a mid-tier model, a luxury model? We've always got low-end, mid-tier, and high-end. And does Apple basically have 4 different models of iPhones? They've always got 4 different models, and they're trying to cater not only to the different price points that customers have, but they're also trying to attract different feature sets. And so you've got 2 different screen sizes on an iPhone for Apple customers, and then there's some minor technical specification differences, but the big thing for Apple is we've got 2 different screen sizes and 4 different price points. And so depending upon what you want to get into it, you can get a big screen and a low price, a big screen and a high price, a small screen and a low price, a small screen and a high price. We'll give it to you any way that you want it. And can we just simply continuously improve and revise existing products? Can we reposition a product from one customer segment to another customer segment? There's lots of ways to do new products. So I think that we've adequately defined those, but customers don't always hear about them. So we need to also make sure that we are communicating changes and improvements to customers, and making sure that customers understand why these improvements are important, why they are valuable, and how they're going to benefit the customer. What it is what's in it for the customer. So if you ask people, there's a new iPhone coming out this fall, and if you ask them what's new about the phone and how is it going to benefit them, the really sad answer is that most of them are going to not be able to tell you anything about the new phone, and they're not going to be able to tell you about how it's going to change their lives. There's not going to be a reason for them to move to that new phone. So what's the customer perception? Well, for Apple, it's largely just going to be a function of status. Are there some people that just always want to have the latest and greatest and the newest? And that's going to be a big part of this fall's improvement, because it does not appear that there's going to be a lot of changes. Now, they're going to come out and they're going to try their very best to argue that we've got some really cool new features to address artificial intelligence, but we'll see if any of those new features really require the new phone, or whether those excuse me, or whether those new features are also available on the older phones. Now, I love building new products because in many cases, new products let me go after new markets. They allow me to increase my market share, and they allow me to change prices and increase my revenue stream. So I'm a big fan of testing new products and changing and enhancing products and exploring what my customers want, because it all allows me to expand my business, increase my market share, and increase my revenue. So product development is an important part of marketing. We're the ones that are out there talking to customers, getting customer feedback, and we're going to bring this information back to the company, and we're going to talk about how we can change the existing products that we are offering, and we're going to communicate that information back to different people and different departments in management, and we're going to get buy-in about how to make improvements and changes to products so that we can increase market share, target new markets, and increase revenue. Now, the risk of developing new products is kind of the risk that I just shared about Apple. Is there really going to be a differentiation? Is this new model Apple going to be sufficiently different that's going to impact customers' lives in a way that's going to make it worthwhile to them, financially feasible for them, so that they're going to be willing to spend dollars to upgrade to a new product? So is there going to be differentiation to it that's going to make it financially feasible for them to buy a new product? That's a big question. The analysts try to evaluate that for Apple all the time. And the big issue for Apple often comes down to there's some customers that just want the latest and greatest. Now, whether that's real or whether that's perceived, there are some customers that just want to say that they have the latest and greatest. So the new development process, we won't spend a lot of time on. This is one that I love because I love entrepreneurship. We generate an idea, we screen it and evaluate it, we do concept development and testing. And concept and development testing is where we actually test it with customers. We find out, do customers want this? Is this going to make an impact? Is this going to make a change? If the answer is no, we go back to stage one, and we start this idea generation and idea screening and evaluation all over again. So 1 through 3 is a big loop. We make a loop, and we do this over and over and over again until we get answers that the customers tell us, hey, yes, we love this and we want it. Then we go to stage 4, we do market strategy development, and we evaluate, is this market big enough? Is there a sufficient number of people that will demand it, and what are they willing to pay relative to the competition that's out there? And if I've got lots of competition that's charging a really low price, maybe it's not going to be financially viable for me to bring this particular product to market. So I might do step 5 of business analysis and decide, you know what, not cost effective for me to bring this particular product to market. So we're going to kill it off. So we killed ideas in stage 3, and we kept iterating back to stage 1, starting all over again. We go through market strategy and business analysis, and sometimes we're going to kill off a bunch of ideas in stage 4 and 5. And if we kill off ideas in stage 4 and 5, we go back to stage 1 and we start this process all over again. And if it passes business analysis, we go to stage 6, where we do product development and prototyping and test marketing. And we again take this back out to customers, and we do customer validation again. And we make sure that this prototype that we've designed really is what the customer wants. And we do test marketing to again validate that they're actually willing to pay for it. And if it passes this test marketing, then we get all of our tooling geared up to manufacture and produce this, and we bring it to stage 8 and we bring it to market. After we've brought something to market, we always do an evaluation. Did this work? Were there any hiccups? Did we make any mistakes? And we evaluate, how did this launch actually go? Did it work out the way that we intended? And sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. And we always look to see, what did we actually learn? What could we have done better? Is there something that could have improved this process? Is there something that customers wanted that we missed? We're always going to be evaluating this process. So I think that we've covered idea generation, screening and evaluation, and then we loop back if we kill it. We looked at market strategy and development and business analysis, and we loop back to stage 1 if we kill it. We do product development and test marketing, and we loop back to stage 1 if we kill it. And then 8, if we finally launch, this is where we actually launch the product to the public, and then we evaluate the results and we see if we were actually successful. And here's the real kicker. A vast majority of companies, when they've launched this product, 2 years later, that product has already been pivoted, because they've gotten more feedback from real customers, and customers have told them what they didn't get right, and the company has already changed this product 2 years later. And that's why you hear about version 1.0, 1.2, 1.3, version 2.0, and it often occurs very rapidly in those first 2 years, because we didn't get enough information from customers in our first few rounds of testing. And when it goes to mass market, we find a lot of people telling us a lot of information, and we really didn't get that information correctly gathered, and we have to pivot again and again and again. So a business is going to do a return on investment calculation to see, are we making money on our investment? And if I spend money, whether it's for marketing or whether it's for a new product launch, I'm going to do a very simple calculation. I'm going to take my total sales, I'm going to subtract my costs. That's going to give me essentially the profit that I made, my gross profit that I made, and then I'm going to divide it by my costs, and I'm going to see what kind of a percentage of return I got on my investment. So we can do this calculation very quickly, very easily. Now, in marketing context, we do gross return on investment. And so we don't take into consideration any fixed costs. So if there's any accountants in this class, well, you know what? We're going to just kind of pretend all of those fixed costs just don't exist, because we're just going to take a look at what the product costs are. So marketing gets to kind of cheat. We as an industry, we as a practice tend to never look at the fixed cost of a company. We want to make sure that we got a return on our investment, basically just for the operational cost of that particular product, without taking a look at any of the fixed costs. Now, what do I do as an entrepreneur? I allocate my fixed costs into this equation as well. So I take sales minus my variable costs minus my pro rata share of my fixed costs, and I put those fixed costs in, at least an appropriate share of my fixed costs, and I allocate fixed costs to this, because that's what a real business really should do. It's what your finance department's going to do. It's what your accounting department's going to do. But the marketing department doesn't do it that way. So if you had a quiz, which we do not have a quiz, you would not use fixed costs. If you're in a big corporate department, we're not going to use fixed costs. If you are a small business, if you're wanting to make sure that you are actually making money on a product or a service that you're generating, guess what? You're now in the real world, and we're going to also add fixed costs in this. And so there's a quick discussion question that says, if your sales grew by $50,000 and your campaign was $45,000, did you get a return on investment? I think almost all of you can go, this marketing campaign cost was $45,000. Oops, I didn't mean to move that slide forward. But sales grew by $500,000. There's probably a key piece of missing information right here. We're probably missing what the cost of the product is. And so when we think about sales minus cost, that's gross sales, but we don't have the cost of the product in there. So we've got to add the $45,000 for the marketing campaign on top of the product cost. So if our product cost was $400,000 and we add the marketing cost of $45,000, then we got $445,000. So did we make $55,000? Well, we made $55,000 of increase in sales by spending $45,000, plus we got our $45,000 back. I'd say that's pretty good. Most people would do that all day long. Spend $45,000 to get not only my $45,000 back, but an additional $55,000 in profits. Most companies would be really happy with that. So not a bad deal there at all, because we're way above break even. So what factors contribute to new product launch success? Well, we have to deliver unique benefits to our customers. We need to do planning. We need to make sure that our technologies are quality. We need to make sure that our marketing is quality, and we need to make sure that our market, our customer wants, needs, and desires are attractive. We need to make sure that they really want our particular product. So is this real hard for us to understand? No, it's not. This is pretty simple. But what do most people do? They just don't do any of this. They never bother to ask what are the benefits to our consumers, our users, and they never plan on doing any planning, and they never make sure that their technology is working. They never make sure that their marketing is good, and they never take a look at their market. So do most businesses just tend to wing it and not spend any time actually doing any math or any calculations or any testing? A lot of them actually do. And so what do? They fail to understand their customers' wants and needs. They target the wrong market. They don't create a product that has any differences. They wait too long. They delay entering into the market. They create poor pricing, or they have horrible cost structures. And so do they make a profit? No, they often don't. I just gave you an example of a company that increased sales by $500,000. They spent $45,000 in marketing, but their production cost was $400,000. So did they net $55,000 out of that? That was a pretty good pricing structure. And did they understand what their customers' wants and needs were, because they were able to increase sales by $500,000? Did they target the right market because they had good marketing? Did they have a product that made a difference compared to their competitors? Did they get it to market even if it wasn't perfect? They got it to market. They did everything that was right. And sometimes we need to be launching fast, getting it to market, doing everything right, rather than trying to do things perfect. And if you want to get hung up by trying to do things perfect, you're probably going to fail, because it's going to take you forever to try to get things perfect, and you're probably never going to have enough information to actually be able to answer all the questions to get things perfect. So what's normal for most business? They fail to understand customers' wants and needs. They target the wrong market. They don't create a product that's unique that actually benefits customers. They take too long to launch. They have poor pricing or poor cost structures, and so they're not bringing it to market efficiently, and they just do not make money. So what do customers want, need, and desire? Well, they've got to first become aware that they have a problem. So we typically think about that as problem awareness. Our textbook in this particular context is thinking about it as product awareness, but it's really problem awareness. And then they do information research to find out what the solutions are. And when they find out what the solutions are to that particular problem, they're going to become interested in a solution, and hopefully they're going to become aware that that solution could be us. Then they're going to compare and contrast our solution to others. And so they're going to be evaluating our solution compared to others. If there's an opportunity to try something out, they're going to give it a trial, and then they're going to adopt it. They're going to make a decision that they're going to buy our particular process or our particular solution. And that's pretty exciting. So we need to understand how consumers' minds think. Whether you call this the stages of the adoption process or whether you call it the consumer buyer decision-making process, we like to just change those names just a little bit, but the concepts are pretty much the same and very much similar. Consumers go through stages as they become aware that they have a problem, and eventually they get to the stage where they're willing to actually buy. And they go through stages of awareness and the stages of problem evaluation, and then they will eventually get to a stage where they're willing to make a purchase. So we want them to become aware of us. We want them to become interested in us. We want them to evaluate us. We want them to give us a try. Then we want them to buy from us. And those are the stages that we want to take them through. Now, some consumers will buy a brand new product early on. We call those innovators and early adopters. They make up a very small percentage of the customer base. This is a very popular graph that we like to throw at just about every innovation curve. And so innovators make up about 2.5%. That's not a very big part of the market space. And so if you are trying to launch a brand new concept out there, the innovators, the people that will really buy something brand new, they're only 2.5% of our total customers. We're not going to have very many people buy early on. So a lot of companies, when they launch, they think, oh, I'm going to have all these great customers because there's this huge market that will buy my product. Well, guess what? Early on, only 2.5% of our customers are going to buy. And then when we actually get really good at launching, the early adopters are only going to be 13.5% of our customers. So even in that next stage of launching, we're only going to be able to convince 13.5% of our customers to buy. Well, our competitors are watching, and they're going to see, do the customers really like your product, or is this going to fail? And by the time we get through the 2.5% and the 13.5%, our competition is watching. They're going, oh, this product's actually going to work. And so we've test marketed the whole concept. And now when the early majority, the next 34%, are willing to actually start considering and evaluating because they've got a little bit of peer evaluations that have proven the product and they now trust it, well, guess what? A whole bunch of competition is going to start to enter the market, and we're going to have competitors that are going to be competing with us. So as we're trying to get that next 34%, competition's entering into the market, and we're going to have a whole bunch of competitors that are going to copycat us. And they may take our exact product and they may create an exact duplicate of it. They may create a stripped down version of it. They may look at the customer feedback that we've got, and they may fix a whole bunch of problems that we have not yet fixed because the customer said, well, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do this, we need it to do this, we need it to do this. And they may introduce a brand new version of the product that fixes all of the mistakes that we made, and they'll launch right into the beginning of that early majority 34%, and they'll just sweep the market right out from underneath us because they fixed all the problems that we failed to fix. Does that make sense? And so it's really dangerous to be that first to market. You hear an awful lot of sloganeering out there that says you've got to be first to market. Well, there's a whole bunch of companies that love being second to market. Apple is one of them. Apple has introduced almost nothing that is original. They've copycatted almost everything that other companies have done, or they've waited until another company has proven it, and then they just go buy the company out. So when we think about that early majority, the early majority of 34%, that's when the market starts to really get financially viable. And at that particular point, we've made all the mistakes by introducing products that don't work, aren't exactly what customers want, and our competition has been able to observe all of that, and they're able to just enter the market and fix everything. So we've got to be ready, and we've got to be able to iterate fast. We've got to be able to change fast, and we have to be able to be nimble and communicate really effectively, and care passionately about what our customers want, and make sure that our customers know that we care about them more than any other company that's out there. The late majority is the last 34%, and that's a very profitable customer base. But we had to capture the early majority, 34%, in order to be able to earn the trust of the late majority, because the late majority are going to follow whoever the most popular product is that's out on the marketplace. They're, in almost all cases, they're just going to go buy what everybody else is buying. So if everybody else is buying the newcomer, or everybody else is going to buy the first company that came in, the late majority is going to be a follower. So they're going to follow whoever is the best company that has successfully captured the 34% in the early majority. And 68% of the marketplace, that's a huge percentage of the market. So you may be this great company, developed this great idea, captured the first 2.5%, captured the next 13.5%, but then a new company can come right in and just sweep the next 68% right out from underneath you, because you did not adapt quick enough to giving customers what customers actually wanted. I hope we've had a little bit of fun. We're a little bit past our hour mark, and this is an exciting time for us. So if we think about our homework, you have a couple of matching games, perusal discussions. We've got an interactive video that needs to get done, and we have our brand differentiation to think about, and think about how industries use industry trade shows and industry events to connect with customers. And we have our marketing plan 2 assignment that is due in this module. I'm attending a conference, so if I'm a little bit slow over this next week to respond to your questions, please give me just a little bit of extra time. I will be out in California, but I will be responsive and I will be available via email. So please reach out. I love to hear from you. Talk to you later.